Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today I am jumping in with a special bonus episode, which is an interview with Lacy Nicole from the Valley. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I know that so many people have been wanting to get to know more about Lacy, so today's episode is doing just that. Don't forget that you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. And also don't forget that I've started a whole new podcast called All You Need Is You, which is a guide to living your best solo life. You can listen to that every Friday on the Bravo Investigator podcast feed, but you can also listen to it on its own podcast feed, which I would love if you guys would go over to and download episodes from there. So you can go to the show notes, or you can go to your Apple Podcast app or Spotify, type in All You Need Is You pod, and follow the show, download the show, listen to the show, enjoy the show. But until next time, I hope you guys enjoy my interview with Lacy Nicole, and I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Lacy Nicole, welcome to the Bravo Investigator podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. How are you? How are you doing? You look beautiful.
Thank you. I'm a little schleppy. Sorry, we were swimming. I'm doing well. I keep saying I'm excited to do your podcast. We met at BravoCon and we had so much fun together.
I know. So for the listeners, most of people who are listening to this episode probably know you from the Valley. And that's probably technically how I came to know of how you or who you were as well. I'm trying to think back. And I think I came across your Instagram and I just noticed that you were a woman who was really trying to speak to other women. You were talking about PCOS and endometriosis and trauma. And there was just something about you where I just felt like this instant connection, which I know is very parasocial, but that's just how we do in this Bravo community. And there's something that you said on a podcast a couple of weeks ago that made me think in terms of like how you and I connected, where you said something about how, well, at least like 1 in 3 women have been through something, have been through some sort of trauma. So I always try to give women grace and try to connect with women because I just figure that they've been through something. And that's exactly what I felt when I came across you. And then we just started connecting and talking. And I just felt like, yeah, like this pull towards you, because as you know now that we've met at BravoCon, I did a lot of work with women who have been abused in the past and stuff in my old work. And so I just felt like because you speak with women who have been through trauma and things like that, we just sort of would connect. And so at BravoCon, I kind of reached out to you. It was like the end of the entire weekend. I kind of was like feeling a little down in the dumps. I sort of felt like I didn't get to meet enough people. I feel like I didn't get to do enough. And I messaged you and I was like, hey, can we meet? And you said yes. And that was so great of you. It was so nice. I loved getting to chat with you IRL.
Yeah, I'm Jesse's plus one there. So I was honored because we had already obviously spoken about just, women's stuff. So I was excited to meet you and I had a blast with you. You're my first drink. We all had a drink. Yeah.
Wait, that day or for the whole weekend?
I think the whole weekend. I want to have like my wits about me because it was my first time going and I'm such a lightweight. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with you. And that's
oh my God, I'm such a lightweight as well. I'm surprised I didn't throw up in front of you guys. It's normally a 2-drink minimum and then I am barfing. But no, it was so great to meet you and Jesse. And we were there with my friend Yana Firestone, who is from Australia and who I collaborate with on another episode. We do Real Housewives of Rhode Island together every week. But yeah, it was so great to chat with you guys IRL. That was so much fun and get to talk to you as like a real person, right? Because we don't always get that kind of connection. And that's what BravoCon is for. But what was that like for you as somebody who's sort of newer to this world? What was that experience like?
I had so much fun at BravoCon. So I was not initially going to go. I had plans and Saturday afternoon, Jesse was like, please come out. It's important to me. So from Orange County, it's easy. It's like a 40-minute flight from John Wayne. And I truly had so much fun. I've said this before, so I don't want to be so repetitive, but it's not like, people are seeking out what I have to say about BravoCon. But it was such a cool connection, seeing how this fan base comes together. And like, I love anything that connects people. I consider myself a connector. I like people coming together for a shared love of something. And we met so many incredible people. I know at the end when we were there, we met a woman going through cancer and she was just like, this is kind of like my laughter and my day when I'm doing my treatments, and we met some, great couples that had met and traveled the world together. So like that part was really fun for me because as you said, there is this like parasocial aspect where people can be cruel or mean or make these assumptions about you. But then there's this like, it's a pendulum. There's this beautiful side where people are coming together. And for me, like I've got the gift of gab. I could talk to anyone about anything. So, and so does Jesse. So like I love talking to everyone there. I could talk, well, all day.
No, it was such a great experience, even for myself. It was the first time I had been as well. And like, as as much as we are all people, right? There was just something for me about meeting Kristen Doty, who for you was just a regular friend, but for me, I was like, I teared up a little bit afterwards. Like I'm so embarrassed to admit, but I do tell people that I did like cry a little bit because you have this experience where you feel like you've been not talking, but you've been watching them for a decade, right? You feel like you've grown up with them in a way and you root for the best for them. And when you get to meet them in real life and tell them so, it was a very special experience that so few people get to really have, I guess.
Like I said, I left a major fan. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to know more about you. And I really believe that, I'm a big podcast listener, and anyone who is doing the Valley recaps has been on the track of, we love Lacy, but we want to know more about her. So I was so excited to have you on today because I feel like that is the question of the day. Who is Lacy Nicole? So take us back to the beginning. Where did you grow up? What was your upbringing like? Just tell us what little Lacy was really like.
oh my gosh, pure chaos. Yeah, I've said this on podcasts and stuff. It's so funny now getting DMs from people like, what's your story? We need to know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like, I'm so transparent with my story, but I get that. But I grew up in Orange County. I grew up here, and I always say like growing up in Orange County is such a privilege because I mean, growing up in America is a privilege, but I was an only child. I guess I am an only child, present tense, sorry. And yeah, I mean, I hate to like lead to something negative, but I did grow up with a
Go
lot of
for it.
chaos. I grew up with a mother who's just not well. She had type 1 diabetes, but she also battled addiction. So like that was
Hmm.
really tough for me. And I do think that variable in my life taught me to be more of like a peacekeeper. And I think, when I talk so often about like childhoods and childhood trauma and how, everyone's the way they are because there's a reason, I truly do believe that. Like I'm not spewing bullshit. But like some of my earliest memories are like standing in between like arguing adults and being the mediator and figuring things out. And um, so I think that did kind of pave the way for a lot of who I am in my adulthood.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I had a crazy period, like in my late teens, I had a crazy party period where I'd like go out and binge drink and act a fool, and I had a lot of fun with that. I went to the Art Institute. I studied fine art
Okay.
and got certified in commercial photography. I was always a creative. I was like, I'm gonna be a creator and be a famous photographer and a stylist and you know, um, all these creative outlets. And then I started working in real estate. I got like an internship for one of our family friends and his husband. He actually ended up being my godfather, and he unfortunately passed away. Jesus, already 2 years ago, 2 years ago.
Mm.
He was the officiant at my first wedding. So he was like a father figure to me. Him and his husband really took me under their wing, and they taught me, some sort of financial literacy and how to show up and how to work and do things. So I'm really grateful for them. And yeah,
Well, then after real estate, what did you do after that?
after that, I worked at a PR firm. I still had this like gung ho thing that I was going to be this stylist, like Rachel Zoe style. I remember that show was coming out, and I think I was running at a loss. Like I would drive to LA and like with no gas in my car, making no money. Like really, I only made money doing real estate endeavors. And then shortly after, I met my ex-husband, and he had a venture capital fund. And luckily, I started doing some investments with him. And when I say I made out of that marriage, well, it was a very short marriage, but he did also teach me a lot of financial literacy and how to invest in products and how to really research and due diligence on items and specifically for us in the CPG space. I don't know if this is really boring and
No,
long-winded.
not at
Sorry,
all.
cut me down if I am. I'm grateful for that and that takeaway. And I still do private and angel investments now today.
Oh, that is so interesting. I had no idea you were like in the investment game whatsoever. So it's my understanding that you have a 4-year-old daughter and you call her Coco. Is that right?
She's the best. She's friends with Isabella. They have a blast.
Oh, that's so cute. Okay, I absolutely love that they have a little relationship. And I know that being a mom is really important to you because I know that you are going through an egg freezing journey. But before we talk about that, I would just love to know what is your favorite thing about being a mom?
Oh my gosh. Selflessly just seeing the world like through her eyes. I guess that's selfish too, but selfishly just read parenting, like the part of being a parent where I just give kids so much grace. And I know there's a like weird narcissistic trait in me because I didn't get that. It's so important to me that I'm so heavy handed, but like it's just so crazy to have a little human where you get to give them all the things that you maybe didn't receive. And I know that
Mhm.
sounds so self-serving, but there's a really healing variable in it for me that like I wouldn't trade for the world.
That's interesting. I don't know if you
I know
watch
I make
Summer House or no, this is totally interesting because I don't know if you're watching Summer House, but this is something that Lindsay Hubbard has mentioned. She doesn't have a relationship with her mom, and she has mentioned how having a child, having a daughter specifically, has been healing for her. As someone who doesn't have children, it's not really a feeling I can necessarily relate to, but it's interesting to hear you say that because I guess that is a really relatable thing where you always want to, not always, but if you didn't have a great relationship with your parents, you kind of don't want to turn out like them. There's sort of like that mentality. But then there's also that, like, I want to be the person that I always wanted them to be to my child. You know what I mean?
and just like these weird societal things. Like I don't even know why I'm emotional talking about it, but like just this good girl narrative that I was raised with where it's like you don't speak up, you don't have a say, you don't really count. And it's so just cool to be around young kids and give them. And I know, like, I watched the show back, I know those moments I look like an asshole, but just like knowing that, like, we can raise strong women and strong girls with different values that maybe were imprinted onto us with or without us even noticing. And it's a really cool journey.
Yeah, it's a really special thing. I was listening to a podcast that you did a couple of weeks ago and I learned something new about you. So at 25, you apparently went to a doctor about reproductive issues. So what kind of response were you getting at that time and why was that such a difficult process for you?
Well, I initially went to an OB. So it was an OB who specialized in reproductive issues. I wasn't like seeking out reproductive or IVF care. I was seeking out answers to why my body was so unwell. But yeah, around 25, like I just noticed something was wrong. Like it's like your body and we're kind of almost gaslit, like not all of us. So I'm not speaking for everyone if this isn't your experience, but I do feel like the medical system gaslights women. And so this is my belief system. Of course, disagree with me. I give so many disclaimers now because I just really don't want the mean messages to me.
No
um,
one send her a mean message, you
no,
guys.
it's just, like some weeks they wear you down. But I know we're all entitled to our experience, but like I knew something was wrong. Like I would get my period and I would be hunched over, vomiting in pain for like 3 days. And like my hair was falling out in clumps and I'm so anemic. I have my hat on for my doctor actually, low on iron. Like my body's just covered in bruises, but it's also weird things that fluctuate with my weight and with it's like pain, it's like everyone's standing on the room and you're like, does everyone feel this bad or am I crazy? Why am I fainting and lightheaded? So I went in and I like Dr. Google, I was like, I think I have endometriosis. And they're like, no, 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 we'll just put you on birth control. We'll give you the shot, we'll give you the this, we'll try the this, we'll try the that. And it's like, you kind of just take the first opinion as fact. At least I did. And I just got so like inherently unwell. And so it was like years of advocating for myself where now I'm a crazy person who wants to like, I have that fight in me for other people.
I love that.
Because it's like, it's just so messed up. And I always say this, like, this is somebody where I have the privilege, like, I'm not unaware of my privilege of health insurance and even seeing a doctor. And this is me as a young woman with no kids and, a part-time career versus a woman who's maybe older than me without insurance, with kids, with a career, who can't edge out that time. So it's like, it was such a daunting thing for me to be heard by doctors, where I almost became like, my identity was deeply rooted in being unwell. And I don't want to also be that. I want to be, my identity is because I went through something and not, because I'm going through something. But it
Yeah.
really was years because it felt so bad. And like now I still feel bad, sometimes, but I know that I have the answers and I know I have a voice that I used to not know I had. And I want all women to know they have that voice. So I'm so aggressive about advocating for ourselves.
No, absolutely. And I love that you do that. I love that experience. I love that you take every experience and you try to find the positive in it and you try to at least relay those messages to other people and speak to other women about it. But I mean, aside from the obvious, how has PCOS and endometriosis really affected your life?
You know what? It's like anything with an invisible illness. And like for me, I had, autoimmune disease, PCOS, endo. Like again, I'll preface with I'm not a physician. I'm just somebody who researches this all thoroughly. And now I've done, trauma-informed studies. I've done trauma-informed resources and EMDR studies and all these things. And what I can say is like, I don't think I'm the exception. And I know that there are so many women like me because when I meet women who've been, a victim of a sexual assault or the victim of violence, or they struggle with their mental health, and then they also have all these debilitating physical ailments like endo or like PCOS, and I, it impacts your life so heavily because you're consistently in this mind body argument with yourself, right?
Mm.
Especially if you look somewhat healthy, which most people with a reproductive disease, at least on the outside, you look well. And it does, like, it heavily impacts your mental health. And it does for me. And I know it does for others. So I always want people to know that there's there's a beautiful thing in sharing our experiences. And I always say this, I'm trying to reword it where I'm not just so repetitive and annoying to people. Maybe you listen to me somewhere else, probably not. But when you become shackled to something, yeah, you're shackled to it and you're a victim of the circumstance. But when you share it, I do think it helps us all. And that's why I'm always sharing, like my mental health is in the pits this week and my physical health and like who else? Because then we have community and it's less isolating. And I honestly do think it helps with the mental variable of any type of illness.
That
I don't
makes
know if
so
I,
much sense.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I love that. And do you
I'm
feel
a little
like
on today. I haven't been sleeping well.
no, I love what you just said there because it's kind of reminiscent of the Bravo community in a sense because there's this thing that's bringing us all together in this way, and we have this shared love of something, and we may have so many different experiences, and we may come from such different backgrounds, and we may be going through such different things, but I can connect with someone on Bravo and feel better about myself because of that community. And so I love that you are sort of doing that as well with PCOS and endometriosis. And you're making it like, okay, there's so many of us who are like this. We may be so different in so many ways, but here's the ways in which we are the same and alike. And let's build a community out of that. That's gorgeous. I love it.
Shared, not trauma, but a shared consciousness, I guess, of like, you're kind of begging people to take you seriously, like even me, like I'm begging people to take me seriously. And like my friend Jay, it's devastating. She just passed away. I know I
All
told
right.
you a few weeks ago, and she was my first friend in the endo community. And like, I could cry again. She hooked me up with a doctor. Like I could not get into this doctor, this excision specialist, Dr. Orbuck in LA. And she invited me on her podcast and she came on mine and she invited me to speak at the Endo Coalition. And she really relit that fire for me because I did feel helpless and alone. And I was kind of, I was really depressed. And that's why I give empathy to like my past relationships either. Because I was somebody who was really just dealing with a lot of agony in my mind, feeling bad. And she gave me that gift of knowing how important my voice is, even just one person. I wasn't on this soapbox years ago. I really met her and she made me feel like it was okay to tell my story and connect with women. And she actually literally just passed away and we were the same age. So it's just crazy. And, I think that's why I feel a lot of empathy for women specifically. Like I know, like the man hater of the world, but it's like we go through so much and like we're kind of taught to be, this good girl or quiet or not, complain too much. Or if you complain too much, it's for attention. But if you don't complain, what are you hiding? And if you like, there's just so many layers on our existence. And I feel like we can fix that.
By coming together as women, it is the only way. And that's what I love about your voice and the way that you're always trying to
I
share.
do believe that, so it's like, anyway.
Absolutely. I want to ask you about one of your other ailments, your ADHD diagnosis.
God.
When were you diagnosed and how has that really impacted your life? Because, I have a lot of friends with ADHD and I want to make sure that I'm showing up for them the right way because I don't always know exactly what I'm looking for. So, can you talk to me a little bit about ADHD, what it looks like,
Yes.
and how it's impacted you?
So I was really blessed. I got something called a SPECT scan. It's like a scan of your brain. I went to Dr. Amen, who's like a renowned um, neurologist. He studies the brain and how it impacts us. He's a psychologist.
Hmm.
And we did a SPECT scan of my brain, and he was like, I'm comparing your brain to like veterans of war, and you have so many issues on this scan. And he scans like
Wow.
a lot of famous people like Justin Bieber and Khloe Kardashian, but at the time he wasn't well known. This was like 15 years ago. And he worked with a psychiatrist I had seen. I forgot the point of why I'm saying this, but the ADHD.
Right.
He got me in with a really good specialist, and I was doing like brain mapping and all these things because like I was just in bad shape. And one of the psychiatrists I saw through them was like, you have your brain and the way you act and your habits, you're not obviously neurotypical, and your ADHD is so it's debilitating, like your responses and how you're correlating with people and society. So they put me on like heavy doses of ADHD medication, but then I wouldn't eat and I had other things. And so then I tried to start, doing the holistic route. And at this time I was like posting everything. Like, it's so funny how people are like, oh, you delete things from there. It's like I delete now because like I want to have science-backed approaches with if I'm now that I have a bigger platform. I used to have, 10,000 followers. I would just trial and error myself. And I used to say, I think in some of my old stories, I would be like, I'm a guinea pig, like
Mm.
I don't have a position. But now I feel like with a bigger platform comes more responsibility where I want to give science-backed care to people. I don't want to,
That makes
again, I'm
sense.
not a
Yeah.
doctor. I always do that. But yeah, they diagnosed me and we went through the myriad roller coaster of medications and what is right sometimes and what's wrong and what works for me. But it is, at least for me, it's so nice later in life because a lot of women get ADHD diagnosis later in life, and we're over
Oh,
like the
interesting.
good girl again in school. Like I could read 20 books in school, but I couldn't sit in the chair all day. And like I'm always so hard on myself because I think growing up in a volatile home in general, you're very much so wanting love. Like I want approval and love, and I know that about myself. So, that's just a fact about me. Um, so I was always so hard on myself when I couldn't like sit still and focus and get through a class without, going on a walk and letting people down or an event. And so knowing that about myself and then having the literature to guide myself through it has been like a huge blessing in my adult life that I wish I had in my adolescent life. And I had
Mhm.
no idea, I had no idea that most people don't wait till 4 a.m. the night before an exam and then cram study for 3 hours. I was like, I've got it down, like, but obviously ADHD isn't one size fits all like everything. So my experience would be complete ridiculousness to someone else's.
No, that's so interesting. Like my doctor has brought it up to me before, and I mentioned before we hit record that I was almost like offended by it initially because I was just like, well, what do you mean? I don't have this. And I've never really like looked into it since. But like you said, it's not a one size fits all. And I think there may have been a one size fits all mentality in my brain because we all know each condition as something. And that's probably inaccurate because without experiencing, you don't really know what it is. And so I was just really interested to hear your experience. And I've been hearing experiences from other friends of mine. And like you said, it is just so vast and different. But at the same time, I want to make sure I'm showing up for people in the right way. Like sometimes I'll be like, podcasting. I'm supposed to be podcasting with someone, and I'm thinking, this bitch, she is so late. What is wrong with this girl? And I just wish, I had thought of, if somebody has ADHD, if that was part of their experience. And I want to be like conscious of that and be like, what's the word? Like sympathetic to that.
Yeah. I think too, it's like, it's nice for me with my friends with ADHD because, like Kristen, we
They get
bond
it.
over my inability. And it's like, I literally, it's not to be a jerk. And I know this is such a ridiculous example, but like I read the text and then I don't reply and I reply in my brain and I can't explain why. And I'm like, let me just finish this task, like let me, I always have this like clock in my brain. That if you don't know what I'm talking about, it just sounds ridiculous if you don't struggle like I do. And then 3 days pass and you feel that shame of like, oh shoot, now I've let this person down. How am I gonna, now I've got to gear up the apology before I reply. And it's a whole cycle. So it's nice with people that get you and kind of meet you on your level. And that's where it's also easier now. I'm getting older where I'm kind of like, okay, if people don't understand me on my level, that's okay. But
I want to be on your level. So you just let me know what, how your brain works and I'll meet you on your level.
disclaimers, I'm like, I don't want to piss anyone off.
No, absolutely. Okay, a question that a lot of people want to know is how you actually met Jesse, because he's talked about how you guys have actually known each other for years, but I'm not clear exactly how you met, if you had actually dated previously to your current relationship. Can you kind of talk us through that?
Yeah. So Jesse and I met in like, I want to say 2012.
Oh,
Don't
wow,
quote
a
me
long
on
time
the
ago.
year. I was either 21 or 22 or 23. I don't quote me on the year
Okay.
because but it was either like 2012 or 2013. And I was working in LA, going back and forth, like at some styling firm, interning, like doing grunt work. And I made a Bumble, like the dating app,
Yeah.
settled. And Jesse was like my first match. And so we would talk on
Oh,
this app. And I always would be like, okay, like it's so funny too, because on his phone he has all our first texts. So if I've since like lost all my texts, I think I delete them. Like I run out of space, but he's still, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of our text, like it's still our first text. Um, so I used to be like, I'm in LA at a shoot or working. Do you want to get dinner after? And he was always like, yeah, hit me up after dinner. Like he wasn't very gentlemanly, like no
mm,
offense. But like I always had a soft spot for him. Like he was super nice. So we texted on and off for a few months. And then our last text, he's literally like, I'm dating this girl. It was around New Year's. He was like, I'm dating this girl. Um, Things are going great. And I literally said, I wish you all the best. Like that is not my style to try and win over someone who's dating someone else. And then we never talked, but we were still friends on Instagram. It was like when Instagram came out.
okay.
And years later, like literally years later, we never met in person. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Our kids were invited to the same birthday party. And
Oh.
he and me, and he sent me a DM. It was like October of 23 because my grandma was sick with cancer and I had posted it. And he was like, hey, I remember when we used to text, your grandma was like really special to you. And I'm so sorry for your loss. It was when she passed away. And I'm always here. And I was like, he's married. I had already been divorced at this point. And I was like, this is a weird message from a married guy. Like, this is inappropriate. So I just didn't answer because, like, I have a thing against like married people that act inappropriate.
Yeah, fair enough. Most of us do.
Yeah, but some girls like, oh, like the admiration. And then he messaged me again in like January something, and I was like, this guy is like, pissing me off. And then in like February, he was like, hey, I heard um you're divorced. I'm going through a divorce too, but I haven't like posted or shared it because of a project we were working on. If you ever want to get coffee. And the show had not aired yet. So to all the naysayers that I'm using Jesse Lally to get the valley, I wish, but it hadn't. And so
So
we went
season
and
one hadn't aired yet, but it had filmed.
it hadn't aired. They filmed that summer, but there's like a 6 month, and like Michelle was already with Aaron, but yeah, we went to coffee at Chateau and we kind of just commiserated. Like we were like, this is so crazy to be going through a divorce. Like, it's so depressing. And yeah, we started hanging out then in real life. And here we are.
What made you decide to actually answer him on that third message? Because like you said, he was kind of pissing you off. He writes to you in October, again in January, then again in
He said he
February.
was separated and that he had heard, I guess one of the moms or something, I don't know, had told him that I was separated too. So he's like, if you ever want to just complain and have a friend who's going through something similar. And I was like, okay, like that's not a weirdo. And in
That's
the fall,
innocent
I
enough.
was dating someone when he messaged me in the fall anyway, and I thought he was married, so I was just like, this is weird all around. But
But then just, you met up, one thing led to another, and
who's
here we
using
are.
me in the valley? No, I'm just kidding. I'm hate for that.
Okay, so season two rolls around, and a lot of questions are, why is Lacey not filming? So why don't you tell us why you decided not to film during season two?
Yeah, well, this is again. So we started dating like March 2024. So for, I'm giving people a timeline,
Love a
in
timeline.
person. And then April, we went to an event, and at the end of April, production reached out and was like, "Hey, we got your number from Jesse. We're picking up cameras for season two." Because again, there's like an overlap of time where I don't know how to explain if you're not filming it, but they film it in the summer, then there's like a 6 month break, then they film it
Right,
in the summer. So
right. Yeah.
they were starting to film it. They were going to film it in the summer, and they were like, "Do you want to do, a Zoom with us and film?" And I was just hesitant. I was already divorced, by the way, but I was hesitant because I was like, we just started dating. Like, our kids just started hanging out, and like, he's going through a divorce. Like, he's not legally divorced. And I just know how contentious that can be. And like, I hadn't met his friend group. Like, it just, all of it felt really forced and weird. I
Mhm.
had met his friends. Like, we went to Jack's bar one night and supported them on something, but like, it just truly didn't make sense. Like, and as much as I love reading the theories of like, she wanted to build the anonymity, like all these things. Okay. But like, truly, you have to think from the variable of just like being with our kids,
Logical.
like 4 weeks. And I just thought it was really not the right choice. Like, truly. And then if we broke up, we were trapped because we were
Right,
new, like literally, like,
right. So then season three comes around and we see, some behind the scenes while filming was actually happening. So back last summer, I remember seeing you filming for,
well, in
I
season
think,
three, we've been dating a year. So it didn't.
right,
And, in season two, when they were filming, I was still getting calls from people filming, like, "Hey, today they're saying this, you should really be here to defend yourself." Or, "Today they're saying this, you should really be here." And I did have this push pull where there were days where I was like, "Oh my gosh, should I like Tokyo drift over there and like prove myself?" But, it just like that's where the cards landed. By season three, it felt less weird. It's still, and it is still like a little weird because I don't live in the valley, but like now it's like it makes sense because I have formed meaningful friendships with people. And like I knew Jasmine, she's always been so kind to me. Like, but there were people that I'd never even met. So like to go film a TV show, it just felt like, I don't know.
no, for sure. That must have felt so weird. But at the same time, I understand what you're saying about wanting to defend your own honor when people are speaking about you and that push and pull. That must have been so
That's just
difficult
my
because it's like,
ego.
I don't want to be on TV, but I also want to speak up for myself?
Yeah, and that is my ego. And it's like, you know, it's not even about not being on TV. It's because again, like the housewives of it all. Um, it's like the timing. It like that's so much more
Made no
suspicious.
sense.
But
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So what did you know though about the Valley? Like, had you been a watcher of reality TV? Had you seen Vanderpump Rules? Like, did you know what the show was based on?
I never watched Vanderpump Rules, but I know who everyone was, and I knew
Okay.
about Sand. Oh my God,
Scandal.
Scandal. I knew the scandal. Like I have Instagram and I do have ADHD, so like my social media kind of tells me the story. Like I know who everyone is. If I saw like Jax at a bar, I would be like, "Oh, that's the guy from Vanderpump Rules." I'm not like in the
Right.
dark. Sometimes we meet these people and they're like, "I have absolutely no idea," and I'm like, "But you still know." Like you know who
Yeah.
Kathy Hilton is. Like anyway.
She's the queen. Everyone knows who she is.
Well, I met someone at BravoCon who was like, "I have absolutely no idea who one person is here. I've never seen a show." And I was like, "But like,
Why did you pay to come here?
it was someone's, it's a long story. It was
Okay.
someone's, it's, I don't want to, it was someone's date from one of the shows.
Okay.
But,
But yeah, that
um,
is a standard thing for people to say, like, oh, I don't know anything about
I'm like,
this world.
it's like, I'm not like, my head's not in the sand.
Right.
But yeah, I forgot the point again. I
Um,
didn't watch it, but I started it with Jesse. And then when The Valley aired, so The Valley aired in like April, we watched the first episode together. And that's when I started to be like, "Oh my gosh." Cause like, when you're dating someone, they're on their best behavior. And I would say, at least for me, like the first season of the portrayal of Jesse isn't how I view Jesse.
Right.
You know, even albeit I'm very hard on him and I know I'm hard on guys and everyone thinks I'm mean, but he like we'd be watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, like you need to I've never seen you, you know, like, but again, it's also as hard because we're newly dating and I'm watching his marriage kind of crumbling and I do feel empathy for that. So that it was crazy watching it together.
No, for sure. And so when you met Jesse for the first time, you obviously knew who he was in some respect because you had each other's information from before. But like you said, you knew who Jax was. So did you know the connection? Did you know that he knew Jax or that he was friends with this group of
Oh,
people or when he was going to do this project, that it was going to be a project related to people that you, not that you knew, but you knew of?
no. And also, I mean, even if there was like something on social media, I feel like in LA in Orange County, like everyone knows everyone on a show or on a
Mm,
like I can't throw a rock in Orange County without hitting like a housewife or a selling Sunset or selling
right,
OC or a owning OC. Like there it's again, it's like hard to express if you're not here, but like it's such a small community
right.
where that's not weird to me, you know? Like I
Yeah.
could go to my girlfriend Elaine's and Jax would be there, but like I just didn't know him, you know?
Hmm. Well, now that it's been a while with Jesse, do you see yourself with him long term? And how do you respond to the critics who truly believe that you do not like him?
I mean, judging by the show, it does look like I don't like him, but it's hard because now it's like it's almost like there's this catch-22 where I do wish we filmed last year when they asked because we were still newly dating. You know, we were in the honeymoon stage of newly dating. You know, when you're
Hmm.
dating someone 2 months, 3 months, and you're doing a date night once a week versus like now it's like 2 years. We're coming up on 2 years. And like I am hard on Jesse and I'm also we have such great moments together. So it's hard because I think with stuff like this, it's again the ego part of me who wants to be like, well, you didn't see the whole part, you know. But like those little moments, it's just hard because I guess hard's even the wrong word. It's things are nuanced. And so if you guys see 90 seconds of us at dinner and I'm saying thank you to I love you, like that's an inside joke we have, by the way, because
Okay.
when he said I love you, he first said I love you, by the way, in like June of last year. And we were in New
Oh, okay.
York. I'm not saying it back yet. This is love bombing, you know me with all my therapy talk. And he's like, but I do love you. And like, we had the best weekend and we were laughing and running around the city. And we were in a cab and he tells the story better. But I looked at him and he was doing something ridiculous. And we were laughing so hard. We like had a few wines. And I was like, God, I love you too. Like you beat me down, you know? And he looked at me and he laughed so hard. He spit all over my face. And we always joke it was like the most least romantic BS. I love you. So now I'm like, I'm always going to say thank you. Like, I'm never saying I love you again. And so it's like those things, these little nuances or these little moments, it's like you're not seeing that. Like, I'm not going to be like, by the way, audience, I say thank you because in New York, Jesse spit on me. But it's also like, I also was in a bad mood that day. Like, I was sick. I had the stomach flu. I didn't want to go drive to Century City. And like, I gave Jesse my word. It was my first time filming and it was so awkward for me, which like we got there at 3 and the restaurant is empty and then as it's filling up with people I just felt so weird so you know
Hmm.
but I think there's listen is there like a little truth I am I'm mean to guys but I always joke like what a blessing to be the guy I choose to love and be mean to you know like in my mind like we get to have fun together and I know I give him a hard time but
I
I
almost
give him
wish you were on the after show because then you would have the opportunity to be able to like explain yourself a bit more, I feel like.
a And it's like also like I give myself a hard time. Like imagine being in my head, but you know, I get that and I don't know. It's so hard because you want to defend yourself to every person, at least me. But then it's like I would not spend 2 years with Jesse Lally to long game the valley, but also respect if that's what people think. Like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I don't know how to answer it in a efficient
Yeah,
way.
no. I think it's so clear from watching him that he really enjoys your relationship, that it's a very different relationship from the one that he had with Michelle, but he's always talking, he always says the same thing, how you hold his feet to the fire. He says that over and over again, and he loves it. And you know what? whatever it is that you guys are doing, it may appear different to other people, but like you said, you're getting 5 seconds of it, but regardless, you're not getting the context, and he's enjoying the relationship. So if he's enjoying it and you're enjoying it, what do people have to say about it?
He has good qualities and he's got, he's a great person. He's a loyal, good person at his core. And like today before we filmed, he knows I have not been feeling well. I've just been having, a lot of issues again with my endo. And like he made sure to feed me lunch. He's like, you gotta eat a steak before. And like
Steak.
I know, right? Um, but him feeding me a steak doesn't what makes him lovable, by the way. And but we have a lot of fun. I wish you guys got to see more of our fun, but I get it. And I am hard on him and I'm hard on myself.
Well, the thing about the fun, I just want to mention for argument's sake that, on these TV shows, if you guys are all having fun, they tend to cut that stuff. So, you know, they assume that all we want to see is the drama. So I think that most people understand that we are only getting the little bits and that there is so much more context and love and relationship that we're not privy to.
We ebb and flow.
Like everyone. Well, I want to ask you some questions about some of the people on the show and curious if they're ebbing and flowing because back at the beginning of all of this, there was a comment that you allegedly had made to Sheena about hooking up with someone on Baywatch. And so, you did confirm that on the show, but what I want to ask you is if you are able to share with us who this person is.
So
And you can just say no.
I did say that. I didn't say it in the context she repeated it. And her and I have since talked about it. And I actually, for the sake of argument, I think Sheena's great. She's accountable when she says something and she goes crosses the line, and we've since talked about it. But the story is we were at a birthday party and I was telling her about, everyone I've dated since I've been divorced. And we were talking, this is so LA. We were talking about astrology signs and, Pisces and Taurus. And I said, yeah, I was, I just went out with this guy on Baywatch. I didn't say it in those words, but I was like, he was this sign and it's so crazy because he was this way. And it was right when Jesse and I met, and it wasn't as deep as they made it seem. It was also
Mm,
2 months before they filmed that segment, but yeah, I mean, I said it. I didn't say it in that context, but
okay. No, that clarifies it a lot because I was wondering just because I didn't think you were friends with these girls and the way it sort of came out was that or the way it was implied was that you just walked up to them and said like, "Hey, I'm sleeping with this guy from Baywatch," and
well, I would
almost in
never.
a way to impress them or something. So I'm glad we're getting the real on this because not exactly what we thought.
No, it wasn't in that context. And it was more so like, I was like, I dated this guy in Utah and he was this way. And I dated this guy on Baywatch and he was this way. And it was more like these dynamics of dating. And, she was telling me about her divorce and I was telling her about, it's so weird to be dating with kids. But I think, again, like weeks later, I was brought up and I've talked to her about it since. And I really have a soft spot for her. And I see, like, I feel, and I don't know her that deep to make so many inferences, but from what I've gathered from Sheena since then, is she is a very empathetic person and she knows when to kind of tread back and be like, you know what, I took that too far. I said that out of context. So I appreciate her. I was
So
just in her
that being said, though, she does have a podcast where at the end of her podcast, she calls someone a Jack's hole of the day, which is sort of a flip between Jax Taylor and what Andy Cohen does at the end of Watch What Happens Live. But she did end up calling you a Jax hole. And this was way back in season 1. And it was for making the comment that you did about the Baywatch guy at this party, right? So I know so much time has passed, but have you had a conversation with her about that? Were you aware of the Jax hole and did it upset you at the time?
I wasn't aware of the Jax hole. But I mean, we've talked about it since, and again, like the context and it's not how I said it, and she and I have since resolved it, so I feel good about it. Like I feel like I sound guilty without giving too many details, but it's it was more like girls gabbing, and then weeks
Yeah.
later, film was something repeated, and also I never said, um, I mean, I never heard I was the Jaxel, but I get
So,
it. And I get to, it's like anything. There's nuance to everything. Like I get at the time, like she's gonna ride hard for her friend and like I was
right.
the enemy and like I respect that and I actually respect that about her and we've since resolved it. So it's not really
Well,
important.
speaking of writing for their friends, we also understand that Janet approached you when she first met you and sort of implied that she had done this deep dive on you. Did you ever truly get an apology for that off camera? Because on camera, it really didn't seem like you got what you were looking for. And I'm just curious if ever since then, if you've had a conversation or whether you got a true apology.
I have. We talked about it, and I think she's another one, like she's gonna go hard for her friends, and we're all doing the best we can. But we've
Yeah.
talked about it, and I definitely, I feel good about where we landed with that. You'll have to watch and see. Experience full of animosity, but I don't know. I'm not trying to be so diplomatic also. It's just like I don't really give it much thought.
Yeah. Well, speaking of contentious situations, I think that's something that we're definitely seeing between you and Michelle this season, but you're obviously doing your best to try to navigate these waters. I guess I'm curious post-season where your relationship sort of stands and yeah, just how co-parenting is going and figuring things out and spending time with the kids and what is life like with Michelle?
I think I'm supposed to say you guys all have to watch and see.
Okay. Well, then I can't wait to watch and see. Now, one thing I don't think we're going to be able to watch and see, but I have to know. Tell us more about this doomsday bunker. Everybody needs to know. People are curious. People want to join you in the bunker. People want to know what's in it. Just tell us everything that you can without telling us the location, obviously, because it's your secret bunker.
It's so crazy. That's the thing they picked up on because it was such a little like minute
Small
thing.
thing.
And I get so many messages now or comments because like I read my comments, like I read my messages. I'm not a big to do. Like I can read the notification. Jesse's always like, "Don't read your comments." I'm like, I literally opened the app. I can read the comments. But people are like, she's putting it on, she's trying to be likable. And I'm like, I am the biggest uh in COVID, I became like a crazy person where
Me
my
too. Oh my God, me too.
it wasn't like the people like do. It was like what you need if you run out of water supply and like what you need if this and like could you survive for 30 days if the power grid went out. And I was like, oh my God, I could not survive for 30 minutes without like my phone's always dead. I have never charged anything. So I just got like really into like go bags and doomsday stuff. And it's like it's not that deep. Like I don't really necessarily think like the aliens are coming or whatever, but it's like I just like to know about it and I find it intriguing. And I always like I hyperfixate on things and I get carried away. And that's just like something I hyperfixated on. But I hyperfixate on a lot of weird things and I'll like give it 90 days of my all and I'll become in my mind, like an expert of the subject matter and then I'm on to the next and I never
I am so the same way. That's so funny that you mentioned.
I do it with meals too. I mean, it's
Yes.
allegedly a side effect of
Yes.
ADHD.
I'll eat the same thing. I'll become obsessed with it until I can never eat it again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I wasn't even giving it that much deep thought. It's just so funny that that's what aired because but I am like very into weird things. But I remember
Well,
even being a little girl and being like, what if I had to run away? What would I take? What would I, like, what are the supplies I would need? Like, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. I don't
no, I think it's totally normal. Like I was the same way. I had like this little suitcase when I was a kid, and I used to keep it packed just in case I needed to run away to the mailbox, which was around the corner, right? So you always need to know what like your crisis items are. That's just so funny. I love it. Well, before I
yeah.
let you go, I have one last question for you, and it is, in the world of reality TV crossover, is there any other reality TV show that you would ever want to do, like The Traders or something like that?
So I've never seen The Traders.
Oh, you're missing
No.
out.
I do watch reality TV. I love the Utah Housewives and I love the Beverly Hills Housewives. I'm not caught up completely on that one.
Shitty season, to be honest.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah,
I
you're not missing
also
much.
I love rewatching the same shows. Like I call them my safe shows. So like I am a diehard Desperate Housewives, Big Little Lies, and then once a year every fall I rewatch the OC, which like I know that's so on brand and I'm making myself sound like a complete moron. But it's like those are safe shows. Like I know what's gonna happen. I like rewatch. So it's hard for me to like really like get into a new show and like give it my all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but if I could cross over and be on a show, I think I would want to be on the boat below the deck, the boat show. Did you know
Below
like
deck,
a
yeah.
You get a Mediterranean vacation, you get a sous chef, and we met the chefs at BravoCon. They were so nice.
Hmm. That's a great idea. That's a fun one. I've never heard someone say below deck as a guest. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we'd love a free vacation.
Yeah.
What else would I do? That's a great question.
I mean, there's all those love shows right now, which doesn't apply to you. So it's all of those ones are off the table. But
See, the
you know,
love shows like gross me out. Like I would never want to make out with someone on TV.
thank
Like
you.
but I get it, it's part of the gig, but like I wouldn't want that to exist. Like, but I'm also weird with PDA, so I get so uncomfortable.
I'm a germaphobe, so it really grosses me out when they're playing those games where like you blindfold yourself and you have to like kiss six people in a row. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and I don't really watch dating shows. I don't know. I guess, yeah, Below Deck. I would love to go on. Please, Bravo, send me on.
That's a crossover I think we'd all love to watch.
I would love if they actually did a reality show, in Aspen, because I spent a lot of time there for a gala I do. And
Okay.
it's just a unique town, and there's so many unique variables that I feel like the world is missing out on. Because sometimes it's so funny now too after filming the Valley, but sometimes I'm looking around scenarios I'm in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a camera crew. Like I was at a dinner.
That's our thing that we say in Bravo. We say you need Andy and a camera. Have you seen those memes?
Okay. But I'm like, I was at a dinner party. It wasn't that recently. It was last winter. But I was like, I need a camera crew. It just need a show called the Orange County Dinner Party, because it was like one person was like doing push someone, and one person broke something, and one person did this, and I was like, this is like crazy chaos, And so like I think Aspen is somewhere where there's so many. Have you seen Dumb and Dumber? We gotta go to Aspen. But like there's so many crazy things, and they're just like, it's a Tuesday,
Interesting. Okay, so maybe like Bravo is like missing out by not creating like a Real Housewives of Aspen.
Well, and it's also like what you look for in TV. Like for me, I look at reality TV to like disassociate or like the glamour.
Okay.
I don't want to be like dissecting too much into the human psychology of it all, because I already do that with myself and everyone I know. So like,
See, that's exactly why. I mean, I do watch reality TV to disassociate, but now that I have a podcast, I'm literally dissecting characters and doing character analysis and stuff. So it's become a job, and it's like a whole different thing. And it's like I'll watch it to make notes, and then I'll podcast about it, and then I'll watch again for fun, as if I hadn't watched it initially, because now I'm watching it through a different lens. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I said it's hypocritical because after all the shows I'm on the Valley, but like it's like the one where you want to puzzle everyone together, but it's fun.
Well, we love having you on the Valley. And if people want to, know more about you, where can they follow you or check you out online and see what you have going on?
It's just like COC. Yeah, check me out there.
Across all platforms.
Yeah, my LinkedIn, my website, my podcast.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review.